Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 292nd episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. Jonathan is the all-time most frequent guest of the Rob Burgess Show. For a complete list, check the show notes. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He is an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over a decade, trying to help the citizens of that great nation hopefully talk pretty one day. A quick programming note. At the end of the episode, we discussed music, and the songs mentioned are included in a YouTube playlist included in the show notes. And now on to the show.
Got off work a few hours ago here today. Yeah. In my country, there is a problem, though.
You better believe it.
Yeah. Things are totally out of control in America, it looks like. Yeah, how are things going there?
Extremely snowy where I'm at. Got a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah, I saw that a lot of the Midwest and Southeast there was getting hit with a pretty heavy storm.
I think people in the South actually got it worse because it rained and then froze and then snowed. We just got the snow. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check down on my people in North Carolina there. Yeah, so, I guess, I don't know. I guess the big thing is the ICE stuff, I suppose, in America. Trump is basically attempting to, start a civil war, more or less, or, bully the opposition or whatever, under the guise of, enforcing immigration law.
I think one thing we can say is that it didn't go the way that they had hoped it would. I think that they were looking for themselves to become the victims and then give them an excuse to insurrection act.
They may still be the victims.
Well, of course they'll figure out a way. But I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know. They may have already brought something on themselves here. We'll see what people are going to do, but I don't know. It seems like the tides are turning, but yeah. How has it been in Indiana there? Has there been a lot of ICE enforcement, or is it mostly reserved for blue cities and blue states?
Yeah, I think that probably tracks more closer. Although I did see a sign outside someone's business saying that you needed a warrant to come in if you were ICE. So there is some evidence that it's happening, but I don't think anything like on the scale that we've seen in other places.
Yeah, I mean that could be virtue signaling. There may or may not be much threat in Indiana. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty bad what's been going on. So yeah, it's I don't know. I've been pushed pretty far in my thinking on this. I think yeah. I was going to mention. Did you see that Michael Cohen he's switched and renounced all his criticism of Trump for the past 2 or 3 years or whatever on his podcast, the Mea Culpa show or whatever?
No.
And now he says that he was forced by Tish James or whoever it was that was prosecuting him.
Yeah, no, I watched that video you sent. Yeah, from what is it, Wahid
Sarah
Ali?
Palmieri, Wajahid Ali, or
yeah,
I think that's right. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I watched that thing you sent me.
Yeah, well, there was an interview that Tara Palmieri did with him, like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, where he got really defensive because she was kind of like, "You were his fixer, right?" or something, and he's kind of like, "Well, yeah, but," and she's like, "So," and he was being accused by people around Epstein at that time, right, including this girl who claimed she was 13 or 14 and she got raped by Trump. He's like, "Oh, I don't know anything about." No. I don't think Trump even ever did anything like that. He got really defensive and very aggressive towards her during the interview. And ever since then, he's been kind of bad mouthing her and stuff. So it's kind of very clearly like he's very sensitive about that. And I think he realizes that he is, I think he knows he's about to be found out for having done some despicable stuff to defend Trump from these accusations, which are probably incredibly credible. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and then I thought it was interesting on the thing that you sent me that the person that he brought on to talk about it was Lev Parnas, who I remember him being very connected to
in the MAGA thing.
Yeah.
First administration. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a very smart guy, but I don't know. Yeah, he seems to have, had his come to Jesus moment or whatever. So, but yeah, I think he was I forget what his position was in the first administration, but he was up there somewhere. But yeah, I wouldn't base it on him entirely, but I've seen several people talking about that Michael Cohen has switched sides again, which he kind of strikes me as the Jamie Lannister of MAGA, if you will. You watch the Game of Thrones?
I think I bailed after the Red Wedding, but yes,
Oh,
I know which.
why?
I don't know. It just was like, why am I watching this show? They don't care about the characters. Apparently, like they're just willing to do away with anybody. And apparently, everyone was very mad at how it ended. So I wasn't really that upset to give it up or go back.
Well, I no, I think it was. I mean, the ending was bad, and I've attempted a rewatch recently, and I got up to season 5 before I kind of slowed down. But first 4 seasons were great, and then season 5 is where I'm starting to feel the kind of the stretching out of the episodes and the characters being flung far and wide across the world there, where these two are paired off, and now these three are paired up here, and then this thing's going on way over here, and it's just kind of like, okay, I don't know. But yeah, but Jamie Lannister was like, at the beginning, he's a terrible person because he's like, he's banging his sister a lot, you know,
Spoiler
and he and
alert.
he and he pushes a kid. Yeah, spoiler alert. Okay, he pushes the kid. He pushes Bran out the window for witnessing them, hoping that the kid's gonna die, basically, right? But then and then he's not a great guy. He's not one of the worst Lannisters necessarily, but like he's not a good guy, obviously. But then he gets his hand chopped off, and then he goes on his Brienne of Tarth redemption arc kind of thing, and eventually he becomes kind of this honorable knight that he was kind of meant to be at some point in his life. And then at a certain point, he almost falls in love with Brienne of Tarth, and then but ultimately at the end, in a kind of inexplicable thing, he runs back to King's Landing, and he goes back to his sister, and he dies in King's Landing when Daenerys Targaryen burns the place, basically, with his sister. And so you kind of have this, he's a total scumbag, but then you kind of like you come around on him, and you're like, wait, no, maybe he's not that bad a guy, and he's on the right side, sort of. He's a decent man. And then at the end, he throws it all away and runs right back. So I think that's what we're witnessing. So that's why I say Michael Cohen may be the Jamie Lannister of MAGA.
Yeah, and I think that you have to accept, when you're in a, battle like this, you have to accept your comrades, I guess, where they come, but you also have to consider why they might be on your side suddenly, and if they might ever not be on your side again.
Yeah, yeah. He always came across as kind of like the Saul Goodman of MAGA politics. Also, this kind of this scheming evil lawyer kind of character, criminal lawyer, as it were. But yeah, its loyalty was never something to be very much expected from him, I guess. But I think, I don't know. I think he realized he was going to be on the wrong side of the Epstein files, and he wanted to run back and maybe get another pardon from Trump or something, or I don't know what he thought Trump was going to do to his enemies. Maybe he was scared of that, but yeah, it's been interesting. That's been interesting. Anyways, that was a relatively minor incident, but yeah, the ice stuff is the big thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, speaking of people that didn't used to be on your side, I have been finding it interesting how the commentary on this, I feel like the person I've looked to for the most moral clarity is actually Bill Crystal.
He's it's I mean
Amazing. I never thought I'd say such a thing.
Yeah, I know. He's really good, I think. I mean, he does have a moral clarity. He seems to recognize to some degree that he was, wrong on a lot of things about a lot of things 20 years ago. I don't know. It is very much like a kind of the big bad of this season. He turns into your ally in the next season, and even though he's done absolutely unforgivable things, you're like, maybe it's the kind of the Jamie Lannister, or there's a lot of these things in these kind of premium tier TV shows where somebody who's terrible one season becomes the ally the next, but ultimately they're going to be the enemy in the end. So but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the guy, Iraq was bad, and he was a big proponent of it. And I'm not wild about his foreign policy in every case, but as far as like domestic policy and being realistic about what we're up against with the MAGA, he's quite good. Yeah, very clear. Yeah. If you watch the Bulwark, have you seen JVL, Jonathan V. Last as well?
No, I haven't.
I think he's my favorite on there. He is incredibly nihilistic. He's this kind of reformed, like he's a Catholic, like reformed right winger who is very dark on what he thinks should be done and what he thinks is happening. So he's quite good on the Bulwark there too. So yeah, but the thing is, I don't know. They say you get more conservative as you get older. I don't think that's what's happening, but I find that they are usually a better for everything except for foreign policy coverage in most cases on things like Israel and Gaza. They're a lot better, frankly, than TYT, the Majority Report, a lot of these other places that I've watched for years, maybe decade and a half or something. It's just like these guys are kind of dropping the ball in a lot of ways, I think. So it's very frustrating.
Well, I do think that one thing I've always, kind of, I wouldn't say admired, but at least respected about certain figures on the right is that they definitely know how to fight and they know how to push for what they want. And I feel like the other side could stand to take a page out of their playbook. And I feel like, Democrats are constantly focused drooping everything before they come out for it. And that's not how Republicans roll. Like they just decide what they want and then they make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I do think there is infighting in the Republican right. And basically, I mean, I think the Republicans did what the Democrats need to do about 15 years ago when they had the Tea Party. You know, that was where they had their fight to clear out to enforce ideological purity and get past some of the Bush era stuff and get onto a new type of republicanism, I guess. But I'm afraid we need to do that because we're kind of in an in-between area where we've got, well, okay, if Graham Plattner wants to win, maybe we can support him even though we don't like him. And if Zoran Mondami can win, we don't love it, but we'll support him even though these guys are massively popular in certain ways. But we also still have to keep around the Kirsten Sinemas and these kinds of, we need to keep the moderate Democrats who can win in red states happy. And it's like, I think the thing is we need to get somebody in there who's going to deliver for every state or alternately crush the red states. And then I don't know. I'm getting to a pretty dark place here as far as what needs to be done with these people.
I think kind of what you're describing is, and I feel like we were going to talk about this last time, and then we kind of ran out of time. But that whole Nate Silver, Ta-Nehisi Coates conversation, I think this kind of circles back to that.
Okay.
I think what I heard Nate Silver talking about in that podcast was
no, Ezra Klein, was it not?
Sorry, who did I say?
You said Nate Silver.
Oh, sorry. I honestly confused Nate Silver and Ezra Klein.
Really?
They live in exactly the same part of my brain.
No. I find they're very different in certain ways, I think. But
anyway, yes, I do mean Ezra Klein. So yes. So anyway, Ezra Klein was saying that he was like giving this hypothetical, Democrat in a red state. They might not support abortion, but we need to support them type of thing. And it's like, first of all, that's an issue that you could win on just on the issue. But secondly, that's not how this works. You're not going to get power mealy mouthing your way through that. Like it doesn't. People don't respect that.
And you can't deliver either kind of agenda. Also, right? Because you're never going to have coherence. Within your party on that issue. So it's a recipe for not doing anything. But yeah. I don't know. Again, I have to admit it's been like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months or something since I watched that thing. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on Ta-Nehisi Coates. I used to read him back in probably 2013 or 2014 when he was on the Atlantic, when he was one of the major contributors to the Atlantic. I don't know. I do think some of the takes that he had, stuff like reparations and stuff that he was kind of pushing for back then. I don't think that those kinds of things really. I I think that kind of maximalist, kind of extreme suggestion on the Democratic side did not really help the party in the long run because it put us in a situation where we're fighting over something that realistically is never going to happen, number one. And it's got us fighting each other and bickering with each other about it. And, whether it would be right or wrong or who would pay it or how it would be, there's no fair way to do any of this stuff. So I do think, I don't know. And I don't know, just sometimes the vibes from him as far as just like I do feel like there's a certain self-regard and things like between the world and me or something. It's like, I don't know, you're really, when you're putting yourself in the world together, it does feel like you're kind of like, you're really centering yourself to a strong degree there. So I don't know. I've kind of had mixed feelings about him. And when he was arguing with Ezra Klein about, that was about the Gaza Israel stuff, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, I think it originally kind of sprung from his
Oh,
Charlie Kirk.
sorry. Yeah, the Charlie Kirk thing. I
Well,
think
I
that's
think they
another
also
thing.
talked about that too, but that was kind of the impetus for that because he had
Yeah,
that column that he was practicing politics the right way or whatever.
yeah, it's very stupid. I mean, I talked to my dad about that and stuff, and I think my dad and them they like Ezra Klein pretty well, and I like Ezra Klein to some degree in limit. Like I think he's a very smart guy. I think he's very intelligent. But I don't know. I think he's wrong about some things, and I think he's close to. I think he's in a good economic situation himself, and he's close to a lot of people who are very mainstream, and his inclination is often quite mainstream in a way. So
Yeah. And anyway, we don't have to. That was a while ago. We don't have to talk about that whole thing. But that is one point that he kind of going back to what you were saying. He
yeah.
touched on that as
Well,
well.
what are you thinking about the Gavin Newsom situation?
Oh, he needs to
Heading,
get lost. I'm done with him.
yeah, pretty much me too. Did you see he had what's his name?
Ben
Ben
Shapiro.
Shapiro on
Yeah,
a week or two ago.
ridiculous.
And the thing was, like, everybody was like, it was kind of annoying when he had his podcast and he was having like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and all these guys, Tucker Carlson on, and he was just kind of like fawning over them. And I agree with you. I'm just like you. My kids listen to you guys. Oh, I'm the liberal mayor of a liberal state, but my kids are listening to these right-wing whack conspiracy theory racists, like white supremacist people, basically. But let's have a dialogue. It's like I thought he had gotten over that because his Twitter posting has been pretty on point for a while, and it seems like his Twitter team or
Yeah,
whatever
how
has
much?
been
How much
really,
of that is him?
yeah, it seems not to doesn't seem to bear out in the face to face sometimes. He's benefited a lot from it, and everybody compliments him on, you're so funny, you're so good, and everything. But when he had Ben Shapiro back on this a few weeks ago, and he was equivocating like a motherfucker on, oh, I don't ever say it's a genocide, and I tell people and da 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 da. It was, and Ben Shapiro took complete advantage of it. He knew he had a guy who was scared to disagree with him at all, and he pushed his advantage, and he pushed the envelope, and went way too far, I think. So again, it's just disqualifying. I think this is a guy who you can't trust him. He can say whatever he wants to say when he's talking to you. Um, but when he gets in the room with a conservative, he's going to be doing the same thing and saying what they want to hear and trying to find a way to make a compromise. And did you see he was on? I think the guy's name is Van Lathan, another podcaster,
No, I didn't see that.
and it was that was the one where he got asked about APAC, and he said, "Well, that's interesting. You'd ask that question. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That's interesting." He asked like 7 times, like, "That's interesting that you mentioned APAC or something." And I don't know. I watched the whole interview, and it's just very like it's very performative. He's very much trying to appeal to the hosts and kind of like alters his. It's kind of he's almost like code switching with these people. It's they're black and everything, and he's just like, man, shit, man, I'm just like you. I get frustrated too. He's kind of doing this kind of thing, and it's very like cringe. So I don't know. I'm worried that the mainstream and the media and the Democratic Party is kind of trying to push him into the inevitable category here, and I don't think he's a winner.
Well,
So
speaking of not winners, Rahm Emanuel keeps trying to make it happen for himself.
Yeah, I saw him on the podcast of that guy who is the former Southern District of New York chief prosecutor or
Preet
whatever.
Preet Baraha.
Preet Bharara. Yeah, I saw him on a podcast with him too, and I was like, yeah, no, not this guy. Also, so yeah, there's a lot of I'm getting worried. I think like I don't know if she's going to do it, but I think we need an AOC. I think it's time for AOC to step up and
You think she's
just
ready for the big stage?
I think she does pretty well on whatever stage she's on. I think she's quite good.
I mean,
And in fact,
I'm not against it. I'm just saying, like, that's the brass ring or whatever.
well, I think if she doesn't get rat fucked like Bernie in the primary, and there's going to
Well,
be a lot of people who
big
don't like,
if.
yeah. Well, after a decade of losing into Trump, I think the you know, people like Claiborne, is that his name down in South Carolina?
Clyburn.
Yeah, Clyburn. He tried to throw his weight in with the Italian, what's his name up in New York City, the corrupt one.
Oh, Cuomo.
Como. Yeah, Andrew Como. And it didn't work this time, right?
Well,
Mamdani
Bill
came
Clinton
through.
did that too, so it's not, he wasn't the
Yeah,
only one.
I'm hoping that's a sign that these people are losing some of their sway within the party to some degree because again, we've been doing this for a decade. We've been putting up weak candidates that they insist. And the only one who got through was Biden after 500,000 Americans were dead from COVID and the economy was going in the shitter. And then people are like, okay, we'll let Biden squeak by this time. But, he's not going to get to stay long. So we
Yeah,
gotta, again, any kind of centrist candidate that they put in like that is not gonna address the issues, not gonna fix the problems, not gonna actually make people satisfied and happy. And we're gonna be right back here doing this again with whoever is the inheritor of Trump's cult in 4 years, if not two.
you really think it's
So
going to stay together like that after him?
I don't know. It's gonna be they won't have a figurehead as easily, I don't think. But
I don't think Jay Dizzle's got the juice.
well, no, but they are they're a cult. They're they're pot committed here. They've already thrown away their morality, their humanity, their brotherhood with their fellow citizens and everybody else. There's no coming back for a lot of these people, really.
I,
Realistically, these
I, I
people
think
are just
I think for some people you're right. I do feel like this, to bring it back to what we've seen lately. I do think this latest incident with the gun and everything may have shaken some people from the tree.
yeah. Well, this I that's yeah, that's a thing. I was thinking about a lot of stuff having to do with this, but with the Minnesota stuff,
They were
I
all
do
too
think
happy to yada yada past the first time with the woman in the car, but I feel like
yeah,
this was a little too close to home for them.
yeah, she was a lesbian and she was being mouthy and
Yeah. No, they
but
were all too ready to throw that one under the bus, but I feel like now it's like, oh, wait, could this be me?
yeah, this is well, I think some of them are saying I see a lot of people still trying to argue, well, he shouldn't have brought the gun to the protest, which is bullshit. They've brought, the what was the thing, the shooting with the what's that dork who shot the three people down south, wherever that was. I'm
You're gonna have to be more specific.
he I don't know. I'm totally forgetting his name. Terrible with names. Uh, anyways, he was getting attacked with a skateboard or something, and he shot the person,
Are you
shot
talking about
somebody's arm off.
Kyle?
Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, is
Yes.
that it?
Yes.
Yeah. Nobody said anything about he shouldn't have brought the gun to the protest. They were like, no, no, no. Of course he should have the gun there. It's his right. But again, this is not about principle. I think I've been saying it for a very long time. MAGA will be anybody who codes liberal, if they die in any situation, MAGA is perfectly happy with that. They will dance on your grave, right? It's not about principle. It's not about gun rights. It's not about this or that. It's we like it when liberals get killed. We don't like it when liberals have guns. We don't like it when liberals assert themselves in any way. We like the opposite in every case. And we'll argue that on First Amendment freedom of speech to be racist, or we'll argue that on Second Amendment we deserve to have guns, but not others. It's a loser's game to point out hypocrisy again, but this is the thing. I think we're starting to see that, and I hope the Second Amendment people who are actually to some degree serious about that. Although I saw a statement from the NRA which was not encouraging.
Well, they didn't do anything about Philando Castile, so I'm not going to hold my breath for this one. So.
Yeah, I imagine they may lose some membership over it this time though, because I do see a lot of seemingly native, people who actually believe in the Second Amendment who are like, yeah, this is unacceptable. So,
well, it's like that Onion headline: NRA forgets to rise up against tyranny.
yeah. And I think that, you could also see some of the hypocrisy too, because how many Republican states have passed laws that say if there is a protest and the protester gets in your way, you are absolutely okay to run them over with your car, because you feel threatened in your car, they're blocking traffic, it's not their right.
Charlottesville all over again. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have they argued that? And now, this woman's car when she's trying to, run away from ICE, which I think it's a legitimate, anybody who's still talking about ICE as a legitimate law enforcement is wrong at this point, I think. But she may have gone near him even though her tires weren't pointed at him. And to give him the benefit of the doubt, in a split second, you can't necessarily see which way the tires are pointed when you see a car start moving.
Especially if you're holding your phone in one hand and you've walked right in front of the car. Yeah, that's real hard to see.
Yeah, it's and they're trying to make excuses for this guy. Well, he got dragged by a car 6 months ago, so maybe he has some PTSD. It's like he sounds like a real dumb fucker.
Like what was he doing that last time too? Like,
how do you keep putting yourself in situations where you get dragged by cars? It's like, it's you touch the stove one time, you don't. Well, apparently last time he had smashed out somebody's window and he was trying to grab them and they started driving away and he got dragged because he had his arm in the window or something, which is again, like that's, this is, there's a total lack of de-escalation because basically I think what ICE has become, what it is it's basically the brown shirts or the SA in pre-World War II Nazi Germany. Basically they're a bunch of thugs released on the streets to fight against the communists and the trade unionists and everybody else out there who's got a different political idea that's involved in these street battles. Only the opposition in this case is not really fighting back or armed. So, and again, they're being used in a totally partisan way. So, yeah. Some people are calling them the Gestapo or something. I don't think the Gestapo is like the secret police. So to some degree, because they're covering their faces and hiding their identities as much as they can. That tracks a little bit, but I do think they're more like the kind of the street fighters of World War II, pre-World War II Germany. So,
but they just need QR codes and body cameras and training, and everything will be fine, right? Right, Joe?
Yeah, I think who is the Senate leader? What's his name?
Schumer.
No, sorry, not the House leader. I mean,
Jeffries.
Yeah, Joaquin Jeffries or whatever. I can't stand either of those people, but I'm getting really sick of Jeffries right now.
Yeah, he's terrible.
So yeah, I mean, they're punching you in the face, and you're like, can we just want to give the people who are punching us in the face a little bit more training? Anything less than ICE disbandment is unacceptable at this point because it's become very clearly, it's become it's a partisan racist organization that is being used to basically patrol the streets of blue cities and start fights with people. Absolutely no interest in de-escalation, no interest in protecting citizen safety, no interest in the Second, the First, or the Fourth Amendment, clearly.
Or the 10th Amendment, states' rights. Let's not forget that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've been hearing our whole lives how Republicans are, they're federalists. They want to have states' rights, right? That's their argument. It's always been, when it comes to anything they want to do, it's states' rights. Well, again, ICE has only been around since March 2003, which was the same month actually that the Iraq War started.
Yeah. Well,
And, within,
not for nothing, but let's don't forget who voted against the creation of DHS. You know who?
uh, Bernie.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm thinking about different people here, possibly, but Maxine Waters or something, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, within 23 years, it's managed to morph itself into a kind of racially profiling, partisan Republican MAGA, anti-leftist street gang with 47 days of training per officer these days, explicitly because Trump is the 47th president.
Yep.
This is well beyond reformation. You can't reform this. This needs to be ripped out by the fucking roots. And I saw there's a thing kind of like an ICE list or something, which is being hosted somewhere in Europe right now, which is trying to document all of the members of ICE that they can find, who they are, as much detail as they can about their persons. And I think, organizations like, Anonymous or somebody like that really should be, getting into the government servers or whatever, trying to figure out the payroll or who these people are, where they are, which units they're in, names, addresses, etc. We need to know who these people are. Then you can start to document, okay, who is with which unit, how are they organized, which units have been sent to which city, when, so we can find out when they were in which place, when things were happening, so we have an idea who was probably doing them. And yeah, I think we need to start getting some information about them and getting it out there because yeah, there's no other, there's nothing else in the government that works like this exactly as far as law enforcement. So
Well, if it makes you feel any better, that $50,000 signing bonus they're supposed to get doesn't kick in for 5 years, and I have a hard time imagining that many of them are going to cash that check.
yeah, well, I mean, it's a crime that I think one of them was taunting a protester a few weeks ago, and he said, something like he's getting $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, something like that was his salary or something. I think he was bragging about his salary. This is a jobs program for, idiots who couldn't hack it in society otherwise, it seems. So they should not be
it's like an evil WPA.
what is wait, where is the WPA?
Works Progress Administration, New Deal, 1930s.
Oh, okay.
Jobs
Okay.
program. A lot of the
Yeah.
infrastructure in this country was built because of it.
Yeah, but the idea that these people are getting paid that much money out of our tax money to go around and fucking kill us is obscene. We need to know who they are, where they were, what they did, and they need to have that on their records for the rest of their lives. And everybody who ever hires them needs to know, hey, this person was one of those people. So,
How much do you blame Waltz and them for not arresting immediately?
let me say Minnesota right now, it's their term it's their turn in the barrel or whatever, however you say that, how the expression goes. And they are the people of Minnesota are making sacrifices that the rest of us may benefit from. And right now it's their turn in the barrel and they need to be, doing things. It's easy for me to say, of course, I'm not there. I'm not on the streets. I'm not facing these thugs. I'm out of the country, in fact, but they weren't stopped in Los Angeles. They weren't stopped in Charlotte, North Carolina. They haven't been stopped yet. And this is the first time where it looks like they could be stopped. I mean, I think Bovino was just fired or something today. The police need to be arresting them. And they say, well, we're outmanned and outgunned. Well, if there's a criminal gang running around your town and they have automatic assault rifles, does that mean you give up enforcing the law on them? Of course not. You do it. And if they're committing crimes or pushing to commit a crime in front of a police officer, they should absolutely be arrested right there. And if they pull out their gun, you got to have that gunfight with them. And if it becomes a running gun battle throughout the state with regular police fighting these thugs, that may be what America needs to see to put an end to this finally. And I would say also to any Democrats who are legally allowed to own and have guns and concealed carry or open carry in public or whatever the laws are in Minnesota, I think you need to do that because right now, I think after the first killing, ICE thought, okay, we're immune. We can do whatever we want. After the second killing, they're realizing, oh, these protesters can have guns. Liberals own guns sometimes, and they can legally have them, and we will be in big trouble. I wouldn't want to be one of the people who just shot this guy. They got to know for the rest of their life, like at any time, their name can be revealed, and they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They might as well go into witness protection for the rest of their life. So, but I do think if all the protesters have guns on them in the streets, ICE can either start a gunfight or they can say, okay, we're not gonna antagonize these guys the way we have been.
I did want to talk about the movies we watched well at some point. You mentioned Bovino, and I thought it was so perfect how Lockjaw and him seem like mirror images of each other.
Yeah, to some degree. Yeah, just very concerned with his image in a way. So yeah, I'm trying to remember you're talking about the One Battle After Another, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, is it a perfect movie? Maybe not. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really timely and smart, and you know, it's not a movie where you necessarily. I mean, yeah, I guess we kind of have an idea where things could be going, but it's not a movie that's so formulaic. You know exactly what's going to happen, really. So
I enjoyed it the second time more than the first time, I would say.
okay, yeah, I've seen it twice now too.
Yeah, because I forced Ash to watch it. She didn't like it quite as much as me, but I loved
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, I thought it was spectacular. It's like my
Huh?
second favorite PTA movie after Boogie Nights, I'd say.
Huh? Okay. Yeah, it's hard to rate him. He's had so many good ones in a lot of ways, and some ones that are kind of may feel like a miss at the time, sort of. I don't know, but
I don't know.
yeah,
I,
pretty
I
good.
feel like even when I don't totally connect with him, I know I'm watching like a master. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I can feel like the thought and the talent and everything coming off the screen, even if it's not my favorite of his. But
yeah,
this
yeah,
definitely was up there for me.
yeah. The movie reminded me a couple years ago. I listened to a podcast with a guy who was a son of a couple of the leaders of the Weather Underground radical left-wing movement, and he had basically been raised by his parents in hiding for many, many years or something. They were kind of like, yeah, it was very similar in a lot of ways to this, I think assumed names and stuff and hidden identities and all this kind of off the grid stuff. And I forget the name of the podcast now, but maybe it was just something like the Weather Underground or whatever. But so I definitely was getting those kind of vibes from it. And it was, I don't know. I've seen a lot of discourse online about the movie. And it's very interesting because I've seen African American opinion on the movie seems to be very divided. I've seen some
Yeah.
African
I was gonna
American.
bring that up too. Ash made me watch a half an hour long YouTube video from somebody that had similar complaints.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people complaining to some degree about the what's her name, Perfidy Beverly Hills or whatever. They thought her character was, kind of
Yeah,
a made up fantasy or something.
yeah.
I
That was
don't.
the exact thing that the person I saw said too. My response to that was, yeah, but I don't care, and that's not really her place in the movie. She really is there to kick the action off. You know what I mean? Like, the main characters. It's a father daughter story at the end of the day, and she has to be there to get the plot moving. But I felt like she
Yeah,
was in the movie and explained enough for the purposes of the story, and that was good enough for me.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a father daughter movie to some degree, and you're a parent, so that may connect for you
I
more.
think
But
being a girl dad times three now.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, I definitely connected to that storyline pretty heavily. But
yeah. But I think it's also a movie about, to some degree, the history of left wing radicalism in America and the part of that is an African American story too, with the Black Panthers and people like that. So, and again, I don't know how realistic this was, but at the same time, I've seen other people like Toure. Do you know the guy? I think he used to be on MSNBC or something, but he's
Yes,
kind of
I
gone,
know him.
into, yeah, I think he loved the movie, and he's debated some other African American critics of the movie who hated it, and
It's interesting.
those have been some interesting dialogues. I think he's
Yeah,
watched it like 5 times now or something. So
I'll have to
I
check
think
that out.
it's very divisive, but and I do think there does seem to be a lot of a lot of the defense of it sometimes comes down to, yeah, but look at actually look at Leonardo DiCaprio's, he's kind of the bad guy. He's not very good actually. See, he's stupid and kind of comical, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't know that that's the message of the movie necessarily. I mean, to some degree, it's kind of the text, I guess. But if you really think about it, you're radical and crazy when you're in your 20s or 30s or whatever, and then you add 16 years to that, solo parenting a kid off the grid, and you think, and I don't know exactly what your relationship is to your former, radical activism and the codes you live by and everything. I mean, can anybody say in 16 years they're going to be as gung ho as they used to be about something necessarily? And is it a good thing if they were? And was his ex partner, his former partner, was she better because she was more, seems to be more fundamental when she actually turned on everybody and got half her crew basically killed. And that, is that better? Is that more pure or something? Or is it better to, go out flaming out like that? Or is it better to, go out in a gunfight like some of the people did? Or is it better to say, okay, that was something I did for a time and now I have other things to do. And, I don't remember the passcode from 16 years ago that I'm supposed to remember to figure out where this meeting is being held or
What
whatever.
time is it?
Yeah, yeah, that was, and there was some lighthearted fun about the woke and the woke stuff, the woke scolding or whatever on the left and stuff like that, which was humorous and funny, and maybe it had a point. I don't know, but I think if you read it as like, Leonardo DiCaprio is only supposed to be the comic relief, and he's an idiot, and he's stupid, and all this stuff. I think you're reaching for a pretty, uh, I don't know, you're reaching for a simplistic and safe reading of I think it's about what happens to former radicals as they age to some degree. I think that's a big theme of the movie. Um,
Yeah,
so I thought
definitely.
that was, yeah, yeah. Again, I don't know. I don't know about what to think about all the characters in the movie and all the performances and the like the thing with the Lockjaw character too. I mean, we should really. I do think we ought to. If I remember back in America, we ought to maybe watch the movie and have a talk about it afterwards with Ash involved and everything. But um, like Perfidy Beverly Hills, like I didn't really get why she like. Do I think it's realistic that in the middle of this kind of operation they're doing it, this kind of this immigration concentration camp kind of raid that they're doing, where she's like, having this guy, touch himself and get himself hard, and she's like, degrading him and everything. Like, even if this is your kink or something, I don't know that you would necessarily. I don't know anybody who would really be doing this in this kind of a moment, really. So, and it is kind of, and there's a lot of dialogue about, Lockjaw ended up raping her later, which I think is true. But I do think she did, I think it could be,
Yes,
even though
yes.
it did happen to be his kind of
Huh?
kink at that, or I don't know if this was originally his kink or if it was something that got hit warped in his brain after this incident. But she definitely kind of like sexually did some kind of fucked up stuff to him at that moment too. Not that it's, on the same level or
Yeah.
whatever, but so when it comes to, is that realistic or not? Is that realistic character, or is that some other thing? I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe not, but again, this movie is kind of in a kind of a bizarro world version of our current reality, I think. So it's, does it have to be 100% realistic necessarily? I don't know. Is Lockjaw a realistic character? In some ways, yes, but he's also kind of this elevated, extreme version of what we see in our world today. So I don't
Well,
know.
but
I
our
don't know.
world today is kind of exaggerated too, so it doesn't seem that far fetched, as I was saying before.
Yeah, yeah, that was. the Christmas Adventurers Club or whatever that was. That
I
was
love that. That was so
very
good.
disturbing, but at the same time, like the absurdity of it is very it really tracks with a lot of what
Yes.
we see, I think, on the online and these right wing, the
Yeah.
groypers or the 2%ers or whatever, the 3%ers or what 1%ers, whatever the hell they want to call themselves. The
I think
the
what I think one percenters are a motorcycle gang. I think what you're talking about is the three percenters.
Okay, I've never been very good at math.
I don't
So
know if there's a 2%. I know 1% and three
I think
percent. I don't know
that's a
about two.
kind of milk.
Yes, you're right. 2%. Not whole
Yeah,
milk. Not skim either.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, so I like the naming of that and the kind of the absurdity of it, and yet at the same time, it's this very, very dark organization that has just utterly nihilistic goals regarding race in
Look, look,
America and
look at
stuff.
that view.
Yeah, that was the ending was amazing where they they sat him down for a debrief like they were gonna like let him in, and he's very satisfied in his new office there, and it's they just gassed him like a Nazi. So.
Exactly. Well, ever thus to tyrants, I suppose. Um, but yeah, no, it was a great movie. Can't wait to watch it again. But yes, I would be interested to talk about it with you and Ash because yeah, she wasn't quite as into it. She was more into that Sinners movie. So
I liked Sinners for what it was, I think.
yeah, I thought it was all
And
right. I didn't dislike it.
yeah, I didn't love the main characters, Smoke and Stack. I thought they were a little bit, just a little bit too 21st century coded, if you will. Um, and I really do like that actor, but the thing is, I think I like what's his name? I'm trying to think of his name now.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, I like him a lot, but the thing is, to me, he'll always be Wallace in The Wire,
Of
right?
course. I mean, that was his
So
breakthrough role. So
yeah, I mean, so he can bulk up and get swole and try to be smooth as fuck and stuff in this movie and everything, but it's like okay, but to me, when you were doing your best acting was at a much younger age, and you blew us all away as Wallace. So the whole "Where's Wallace" thing after no spoilers, but yeah, like I
we've
mean
already been through the
that
wire.
was
So yeah, people should know by now.
yeah. So it's not that I don't like the actor. I think he's an outstanding actor. But again, his two smooth twin brother characters that are just like both, impossibly smooth. And what was it? Is it 1930s? I want to say, is it 1930s in the South
Yeah.
there, or where was it?
Yep.
Um,
1933.
I yeah, I did like the music a lot. I thought the music was really
Music was
good.
great on both sides. Even the vampire music was good.
Yeah, yeah, it was all very. I think it was very respectful of the cultures but that all that kind of music was coming from in both sides.
That actually
The
reminded me of
thing,
my favorite scene from the movie was when they're kind of going through the history of black music. You know what I mean? In the
up until the modern
yeah,
day, yeah, with
yeah, that
kind
was
of
cool.
visions of the
I
future.
enjoyed that.
I
That was
yeah,
that was
I know
fun.
that was powerful, and
Yeah,
I do think you know African American music as a God, there's no non-cringe way to say this, but as a thing that's been given to America. Um,
are you trying not to sound like the dad from Get Out right now? I would have voted for
yeah,
Obama a third time.
well, yeah. At this point, I'm not sure I would, but yeah,
I would have given Center 17 Oscars.
yeah, right. I think the music though is like it's a kind of an intangible cultural gift to America that we really can't appreciate enough because there's just it's there's so many things, so many different genres and styles of music, and it's just at this point it's such a uniquely American thing that I don't know. You can go to a bar in Korea and you can hear jazz. You can go to a cafe in Korea, you can hear jazz or blues potentially. K-pop has plenty of hip hop kind of mugging and everything in it nowadays. So I don't, it's a cultural thing that is spread around the world that is really, you know, coming from a particular subgroup within America that we do have to be, just appreciative of, I think. People who want to make America white again or whatever, By the way, did you see Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die?
No, is that new?
It's a couple years old now. It's really good though. It's a
I,
very kind of lo-fi zombie apocalypse kind of story. It's quite good. Uh, but yeah, one guy. There's Jim. What's his name? Oh God, I really wish I had the brain for names. God, who am I thinking of? Mr. Pink?
Adam Driver.
No, Mr. Pink.
Buscemi?
You're Steve Buscemi. Yeah, he plays a MAGA supporter in there, and
Oh,
he goes around wearing a hat. He wears a red MAGA hat, but it says "Make America White Again." So yeah, it's a quite funny movie, but yeah, it's a very good movie. I recommend. Yeah, The Dead Don't Die.
cool. I'll check that one out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I liked aspects of Sinners, but again, I felt like it was very derivative of Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I mean,
I had
they
that same thought.
basically, yeah. I mean,
Now, Ryan
again,
Coogler did address that in an interview, and he said he was actually more inspired by another Robert Rodriguez movie, Faculty.
which movie?
The Faculty.
The Faculty. Okay. Yeah, I definitely watched The Faculty in theaters in like 1997, as I'm sure Ash did too. Ask her about it. I'm sure she did.
Yeah, absolutely.
That The Faculty is absolutely an Ash movie. I can say that with 100% confidence.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so The Faculty. I'd have to again, I need to go back and rewatch that because I haven't seen it in
But
30
yes,
years
I had
probably.
the same exact thought when I was watching that because you got criminal brothers going to kind of a pop up nightclub in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, it's vampires everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I for me, I have to take away a little bit of originality points just because it was, very much derivative of that in structure, format, and aesthetic to some degree. And at a certain point, people are just getting killed left and right, and people are going outside or not going outside. People are trying to trick people into going outside, and it's just like, okay, we're just doing the thing in the movie where they have to kill off a bunch of people at this point, and so it's just kind of a numbers game right now, basically. So I don't know. Yeah, it was a good movie. Again, it didn't stick with me as much, though. I would say I watched it again when it came out, but it was good. It was good at the time, and it was really good, I guess, and the music was good and
Yeah.
stuff. So.
As soon as I got done watching one battle after another, I was like, I cannot wait to watch this again. Like, this is going to be so good now that I've seen this. Because the first time you see it, you're like, where is this going? What's happening? I don't get, you're kind of like bewildered. You're as bewildered as Leonardo's character in some ways, but like the second time I noticed things that I didn't notice the first time. Like when Lockjaw is leaving the first meeting with the Christmas adventurers at the guy's daughter's wedding or whatever, like you can see his face and he's like, you can see him just like, oh, this is like the best / worst thing that's ever happened to him all rolled into one. You know what I mean? He's just like, he's got to formulate a plan now, and it's all happening behind his eyes.
Yeah, yeah, and it was again, he was also to some degree, I think, being accepted into an upper echelon of society, I guess, in a way. I mean, this guy, he wants him to join his club, right? And he's willing to have him there at this daughter's event or whatever, wedding or whatever, but he has to come in the back door, right? And he said, "Well, you weren't dressed for full formal, so I didn't want to embarrass you." And it's just like, he doesn't want to be seen with this guy necessarily publicly, but he's willing to allow him to join their club and everything. So, um, I will say one thing I didn't quite get at the end was like at the end they're all running around and there's like multiple different cars. Like there's the Christmas Adventurers Club guy who's come to assassinate Lockjaw and his daughter, who seems to like almost psychically know exactly where the daughter is, even after he kills Lockjaw and she's not with him. And then there's, Leonardo DiCaprio, who somehow doesn't come over the hill and smash into the car, even though he's been chasing it like crazy. And he also seems to be chasing cars randomly. Like he was chasing Lockjaw, but then Lockjaw's dead, and he finds his car crashed. But then for some reason, he kind of knows that the next car he sees is also somebody he should follow. And I don't know. I'd have to watch like a Cinema Sins or something and see if anybody could figure out like how did everybody
He
know
has
exactly.
that tracker. right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, you're right. Okay, so he has
Doesn't
the
that
tractor
doesn't that like
tractor
give
to
him
follow
some
us.
idea of where she is at that point?
Well, but I think that it has to be within like probably like I would guess like 50 meters or something. So I don't know that he would, driving into the
Maybe not.
horizon to follow this car that he just saw. Or so I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to
But as a
watch it a third
father,
time
see,
probably.
as a father, you would know.
You always know where your child
Of
is. Yeah,
course, yes,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah. Wait till your kids start going out to clubs,
Yeah,
Bob.
right.
You'll see if you know where your kids are.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think she's in Kilroy's on Kirkwood right now doing Jaeger bombs.
Oh,
I
great.
feel it.
Oh no. Underage, of course, because it still is.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Again, yeah, they're both good and very interesting movies from last year. Again, I just think One Battle After Another was very timely as far as, where America is at right now.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And yeah, and it's just a movie that nobody makes a movie about that kind of thing, right? You just don't make a movie about, you know, radicals aging, right? That's
Yeah.
when has there been another movie like that? I can't think of. I don't know. Maybe Star Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe the later Star Wars movies when they
True.
they give a cameo to Princess Leia and Han Solo, but they're all kind of washed up and everything at this point. It's like, okay, but that's not One Battle After Another though.
No, absolutely not. Well, in the criticism I saw too was like, oh, this is just revolutionary aesthetics without the revolutionary ideology, and it's like we're not. They were like, oh, we're not clear on what Perfidia actually is fighting for, and she's kind of seeming all over the place. But it's like, I think that just speaks to she has all the like bombast of a revolutionary, but first of all, when it comes down to it, she splits the Saberman skin. And second of all, the one who really believes in something is, if you want to go with a radical that actually, we haven't talked about this character yet, I loved Benicio del Toro's character. And he was a
Yeah,
radical and he actually was on the ground doing the work. You know what I mean? So, like, he was, with the migrants and sanctuary and like moving people around and hiding people. And like, if we're going to talk about who actually did more for the cause or whatever, he was actually the, ideological soul of the movie for me, in terms of
yeah.
political thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, I again, I mean, he is protecting migrant laborers in his care, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, there's two ways to look at his character, I suppose. I mean, if you take a more cynical view of immigration, illegal immigration, which I'm not saying I do, but I think there's a legitimate criticism of illegal immigration is that we have kind of to some degree modernized slavery, right? We've created a legal economic underclass that is paid under market rate for work, right? And I don't know what the legacy of that is going to be in the long future, right? How we're going to look back on that and say, were we right to be supporting this institution and protecting this institution uh, beyond the fact that we were trying to protect individuals who were involved in it. I do think we're somewhat vindicated because the blatant racism of the people who are against it is so on display that it's just like, yeah, this is even if you wanted to make a legitimate critique of illegal immigration and say that we're taking advantage of people who, are at a disadvantage legally and economically in our country. Yeah, but they're not making that argument really. No Republican I've ever heard has ever made that argument on a moral grounds of that aspect. So I don't know, but yeah, Benicio del Toro. Well, the thing is also, I think Perfidia Beverly Hills. Well, the thing is, this is based on the book written in the 1980s about the radicals of the 60s and 70s, right? Originally.
Yeah, but I've heard it's only very loosely based on that book,
Yeah,
so I don't know
but
how
I'm
much you
but
can
I'm
take
saying
from
like I
that.
think I think some of the characters like Perfidia Beverly Hills and Jungle Pussy and some of the other characters like that, I
That's
think
her
they're
actual
coding.
name, right?
Yeah, apparently I'm not too familiar with her, but
I'm
yeah,
not either, but I
that's
looked it up. I was like, oh wow, okay, starring as herself.
sure. Okay. Yeah, well, I think those characters are coded much more as kind of like sort of like Black Panthers or something in the 70s maybe.
Sure,
And
yeah, I guess so.
but in this show, it's kind of more like of a pan left thing. You've got black radicals allying with people like Leonardo DiCaprio, a white bomb making radical perhaps, which probably is, I don't know, coding more like the Weather Underground or something, which is true. The Underground actually was involved with the Black Panthers. Actually, they were working together in some cases, I think, or they were allied in some ways. And then you've got, the immigrant rights and stuff, which is more of a modern issue, I think, as far as I don't know. I don't know how much. I think there was a Wetback Act or something in the 1950s, which was trying to stop Mexican immigration. So I don't know. I don't know to what degree that was an issue in the 60s and 70s. Maybe, oh God, there was a guy out in California who was kind of famous, I think. I forget his name though. Anyways, yeah. So I think it's kind of a mishmash of left-wing radical movements kind of being put together in this movie. So I'm not sure how coherent it is on that from that aspect.
Well, and also, that goes back to kind of the right wing criticism of the movie was that it was glorifying this left wing radicals. And first of all, they don't look like they're having a great time for most of the movie. So I don't know how much of an advertisement it is. And secondly, we want to talk about who actually believes in what. Perfidia is shown to actually not believe in much of anything in reality. And she's really more in love with the excitement of the chaos in the moment. And then beyond that, she's not really ready to stick around and do the harder work. But if we want to talk about who believes in what, Leonardo DiCaprio, even though when he shows up initially at the first thing, he seems totally bewildered as to what they're even doing or what they're even supposed to be, beyond she tells him to blow stuff up and make a show or whatever. I don't know that he has a clear idea of what is going on, but then later on in the movie you see that he actually does believe in something, which is his family, his daughter. So I feel like once again coming back, maybe it's my soft spot for the father-daughter storyline, but he actually believes in something more than she ever did, even though she's all trying to be upfront with she's the revolutionary, she's the one that believes in stuff.
Well, I'm not sure that I never took it as he didn't actually believe in this stuff. I believe he was ideologically.
Well, he didn't seem to know where they were even going. Remember when he shows up at the meeting point before they go into the immigration place? He's like, oh, what are we doing?
Vaguely, okay, vaguely, but I imagine he was an ideologically committed leftist at that point already and everything.
More generally, yes, but I don't know if if the particulars were quite as pertinent to him, I guess.
Yeah. Well, but I don't think it's necessarily that he stopped caring about that stuff. I think he still did, but I think, just the family thing and taking care of his daughter and protecting her became his primary thing, which is probably necessary for people at a certain point in their life. I guess when you do have a family, you probably do have to, the things that you cared about before become less relevant or less, you can't be banging 24/7. You got to do some other things at that point. So, and again, I don't know if Perfidia Beverly Hills, I don't know if she didn't ever really believe in this stuff. I tend to maybe naively take people at their word as to what they're doing and what they believe in, but I do think I don't know why she ratted everybody out. That did seem a little bit out of character for her, but then again, we had several cases. I think when her friends were being interrogated, the daughter's one of her friends, the trans friend, I think, did end up, or the non-binary friend did end up giving up her phone number, right? So there's this theme, not everybody, and also the guy who was the radio broadcaster who was arrested and originally gave up Leonardo DiCaprio's location and name and everything. There is a theme of, when the chips are down, people do compromise. People will cut a deal when their family is being threatened, when their freedom is being threatened, maybe when their sexual autonomy is being threatened in Beverly Hills' case. But so I don't know, I don't know if she stopped believing in I tend to take her at her word that she believed what she was doing. So I don't know, we don't know where she was. Did she run to Cuba or where did she wind up? Or, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we don't have to spend the whole time talking about that, but I didn't want to leave without touching on that because I thought it was a great movie. Can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah. I think I would recommend again the Touré debate that he had with another critic of the movie, because I don't know how much they got into. I don't remember how much they got into it, but I thought it was very interesting to see those two radically different takes on the movie. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to see that. I remember Torre first. I remember I first saw him because he had that infamous uh, interview with R. Kelly back in the day. Remember that?
Not specifically,
Well, this
but
was like in
maybe
the
I probably.
'90s, I think, for like MTV or something. He was interviewing him, and he was like, "You don't like young girls, do you?" And R. Kelly's response was, "How young we talking?" As I remember.
You got
And
me?
then Torre's eyebrows went up to the ceiling at that point, and like it was like, "What?"
Do you like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how are we talking?
Girls who are teenagers,
19?
19 and younger.
I have some 19-year-old friends, but I don't like anybody illegal if that's what we're talking about, underage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I think like yeah, I saw it. He did a talk recently on one of his podcasts too, where he talked about interviewing Suge Knight in the 1990s and how scary that
Wow.
was actually.
Wow. Amazing.
And so, yeah, he had this whole career before I was ever aware of him, where he was, it seems like he was kind of interviewing people in the hip hop area, R&B area there. So, but again, that was before I really knew who he was, I think. So, but yeah, I was also another thing I would mention is I think it would be interesting to, when we take power before we disband ICE, we should do there's this norm that we don't ask people who they voted for. I don't see why we have that norm. I think sometimes somebody says something or somebody advocates a policy that says, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter, right?" But you can't, if you ask them that, I don't have to say who I voted for. It's my right. I don't need to talk about, I think we just need to say, no, we know who you voted for. We know what you're about. I'd love to see an internal survey of ICE and see what percentage of them voted for Trump or the Republicans, what percentage identify as MAGA.
Gotta be 90,
And
90s,
frankly,
right?
if it's anything above 60%, they should just be disbanded. It's a partisan organization at that point. So I don't know. I'm just about done with all the niceties of democracy that we've tried to hew to up to this point. But for 10 years, we've been dealing with these idiots and these traitors, basically. And I've just about had it with them.
Well, I mean, the thing is, this all is happening because of the post 9/11 surveillance state overreach infrastructure that was put into place, and it was telling that when, for example, J.B. Pritzker, the maybe possible contender for the White House and also governor of Illinois currently, tweeted about this or put something on social media, and he said, "Abolish Trump's ICE." I thought that was telling because Trump didn't invent ICE; it was sitting there,
Yeah.
DHS, since Bush era, and you know, even if it wasn't abused previously, it was there to be abused. And you could argue that other presidents, even of the Democratic side, have misused it, but now it's really being misused, but it's only being misused because it's there to be misused.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's proven that it was ripe to be abused, and it has been totally abused, and it has no credibility. It certainly doesn't deserve any credibility as a legit law enforcement agency at this point. So,
My sideburns are older than it.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, I don't know where we left off, but I sent you a link to the Bulwark video where they JVL and
Yeah, I'll check that out.
the other guy talk about what might ought to have happened on January 6th, and alternate histories of where America might be if things had gone differently on January 6th, which is an interesting thought experiment, certainly.
Well, I mean, let's bring it to Korea, because I think Korea's shown us the way, in terms of dealing with their disgraced leaders. Also, Brazil, come to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Korea recently sentenced, I think the interim vice president or something, or he was he was the acting president briefly after the coup, but he was revealed to have been involved in the coup attempt here. And I think he was sentenced to 15 or 20 years in prison. And of course, probably the next time there's a conservative administration in Korea, which could be in 5 or 10 years, I don't know. that he'll probably be pardoned or something by them. But and they're seeking the death penalty against Yoon Suk Yeol, the former president here. But of course, as I mentioned, South Korea has had a moratorium on the death penalty since like 1997. So it's, effectively just, a maximalist punishment up to the point not enforceable really, but they're taking it seriously anyway. So
I thought it was interesting that they did that, but you're saying there's no way they can actually enforce that penalty?
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, they have to change the law, of course, but which I don't think there's any real appetite for. I think South Korea is perfectly content not to have the actual death penalty in effect, basically.
But it's just amazing the state of affairs we find ourselves here in this country, where a foreign president can be prosecuted, but not a domestic one, either in or out of office here currently in our country.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of complicit people and a lot of people who, I think there's a collective action problem, which we've probably talked about before, but for any one person to resist Trump is almost impossible, because he can bring so much pressure to bear on them politically and economically and legally, and in some cases, violently, militarily, or through the threat of force of his followers. That or business wise for the companies and stuff. So for any one company to stand up is obviously not advantageous for that person or company at the time, but collectively they all probably know they ought to be doing something. But yeah, I think the tech people have been an utter disgrace.
Oh my gosh. Well, you had Tim Apple up at the White House watching the Millennium movie while this is going on. So that's where he is right now.
Yeah, I've heard she made a documentary or something. I have no idea what it's about, and I'm profoundly uninterested to even bother to know what it would be about. And unless it's about being fucking sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, I don't want to hear it from her.
I guarantee it's not.
Yeah. So, I think I might have mentioned last time or something too that I had gone back and re-listened to our very first episode, which I think was your second episode of the podcast, which I don't know what number you're up to now. How many have you done now?
This will be 291 and 10th anniversary coming up in March.
Wow. Yeah.
Can you believe it?
It's pretty wild. I mean, it's yeah, it's
a fair amount of American history right here. This is primary source material. Featured historians.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always I don't know, frustrating sometimes when I see something like, for example, like the Chapo Trap House, which basically started at the same time as we did, and they've gone the way that they've gone. They've made, I'm sure, millions of dollars, and we're kind of still here like plugging along. But yeah, in that first episode, or the first episode that I was on, I remember when I listened to it, I found that I had said we were going into a fascist administration, or the Trump movement was a fascist movement.
So Trump, yeah, he's been an interesting and exciting character, and I think I think he is literally a fascist. And I get in arguments with people on the internet over this kind of thing all the time and stuff about how fascistic. I don't know what the.
I think that's it.
That is.
Yeah, I think you got it.
One of those two times maybe, but it's like there's a 14-point definition written by somebody that I don't have right in front of me right now, but it seems to cover almost everything about Trump. So,
and I just kind of, I think about that. There's so much, cachet, or like something about when you called it fascism. When did you realize it was fascism, and did you call it too soon, or did you jump the gun or so? I feel like I should get some early mover advantage for having correctly seen what was coming down the pike, basically. So
listen to the Rob Burgess Show. People get tomorrow's news today.
Yeah, like literally. Decent analysis, if I dare toot our own horn here, but yeah, I think yeah, I think saying things that are not just cliches, but just kind of I don't know, yeah, analyzing things.
Well,
I think,
yeah. Well, I feel like I was thinking about that this week because, I have more living in Indiana. Obviously, I have friends and acquaintances that are more middle of the road, as you might imagine. And this latest thing was the only thing I've seen cut through to them. You know what I mean? Like I have been saying this is bad for a decade plus now, and no one's been listening to me. But this latest thing does seem to have cut through to the normies, and it's like,
yeah.
welcome to the party. I'm glad you're here now, but where have you been?
The thing is, this is actually the thing that may actually break the right wing's exclusive, uh, grip on the Second Amendment argument, because they've been whining and bitching and moaning, and Obama's going to take our guns, and Hillary Clinton wants to take our guns, and Joe Biden's going to take your guns, and just every, Kamala's going to, any Democrat is going to take your guns. Well, no, when the chips were down, Donald Trump didn't try to take your guns, but he said, if you have a gun legally, we're going to kill you. And I think there was also, just like, I think that, I mean, when you get into the headspace of these ICE agents to the degree that that's possible, what do you think that they were thinking at that moment?
It's pretty incredible. But yeah, no, they seems to have broke through anyway. People that weren't calling it what it is, they are doing so now, even though some of us, like you were pointing out, have been saying it for the longest, and perhaps we weren't being warned of us.
In the moment, what do you think the ICE officers were thinking when they were shooting this guy?
They probably were thinking they had total impunity to do whatever they want. They were taught that lesson by the reaction to the last time.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the thing is, though, I think that they realized that they had just pushed down a woman, that they're asserting their dominance in this area, and they think they have impunity. They push down a woman. This guy tries to protect the woman. They pepper spray him. They've got like 7 people beating him. He's got his hand in the air and his hand on a camera. And then they see the gun. And they realize what they've just done to this citizen is so unjust by any standard of human behavior that this guy would be in his rights to stand up and start capping them. And they realize, like, oh shit, and that's when somebody shouts gun and they shoot him. I think that the fact that they killed him is almost an admission that what they were doing was completely unjust, and they knew it. And when they realized that this person in front of them had the means to exact justice from them, they were like, oh shit, we got to go all the way here. I don't know. It may have been a split second. I imagine that may have been part of the calculus for them. Some of them.
I will be completely honest. I have not seen the raw footage of the scene. I have studiously avoided it.
Really?
Yes. I saw the first thing, the woman, and that was quite enough for me. And I've read stories and I've seen pictures, but I have not viewed the raw footage. So I can't. I know what you speak. I've seen it described, but I don't want to pretend like I've seen it. I've scrupulously avoided watching.
Oh, well, I've watched it several times.
I'm sure.
Slowed down, stabilized, etc.
I feel like I have a good grasp on what happened, and I probably agree with everything you're saying, but I force myself to watch that.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I think people are having to reckon with now, is that, yeah, that these people, when they kill us, they're happy about it. They're excited about it, and so on. And so I think everybody who's left of MAGA, which is most of the country, really, 70% probably, needs to reckon with that. If you get killed by MAGA, you're going to be the bad guy in their minds. You're automatically going to be. They're going to look for something to blame you for, and there's not going to be any justice. So.
Yeah, but I think that most recent incident brought that into focus for people who currently had been blind to that fact.
Okay, well, I guess, I don't know anything unrelated to the ICE shooting. I guess that's obviously the biggest thing here recently.
Goodness gracious. Well, there's so much to talk about. We didn't even talk about Greenland.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like Trump may have sort of kind of backed down from that a little bit, but you never know with him.
Yeah,
Of
exactly.
course, the carrier strike group is not in the right position, so to some degree, it does seem like he's bluffing right now. With the Venezuela thing, they were sitting off the coast for like 6 months, it felt like, or something, staging. So,
Yeah, I think after the Davos pushback, I think that realized that he did not have you don't have the cards, as he said to Zelensky.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see what's going to happen with that. I mean, I think NATO has seen that they can never truly trust America again unless we hold MAGA accountable and start throwing these people in jail. I think that's the only thing that could actually, if they see that there are consequences in America for this, then that might be the only thing that would reassure them that America is still the ones to you know worth having in your corner to some degree. But God, there was something else I was thinking of with that. Oh man, I just lost that thought. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I think oh yeah, the other thing is like, Trump is trying to make this such a Western Hemisphere thing. Like the Western Hemisphere is our territory, and we can exert our will on the smaller countries of our region. And and I think a lot of MAGA that makes them feel strong or powerful or something, but it's really such a global retreat because, the 20th century has been called by Americans mostly the American century. I don't know if Europeans would call it that either, or two, but basically all over the world, we've had a lot of power and influence over the way things have gone. And to just go back to just trying to control the Western Hemisphere is an incredible retreat, really. So,
And I'm sure Putin is very excited to hear about that. So,
yeah, well, I think that's the other thing is that, yeah, Trump has never substantively gone against Putin and that's just something that has, again, been examined and speculated about. But for 10 years, you know, he thinks he's been exonerated on those charges, but I think his behavior suggests otherwise. But I mean, effectively, I mean, Russia has been strongly defanged, basically, because Russia has been bogged down in Ukraine for 3 years now, 4 years now, I guess it's been 2022, I think was when that started. And since then, the Palestinians have been destroyed, basically. Iran has had their nuclear sites bombed and is undergoing some sort of an uprising that's being violently suppressed right now. Uh, North Korea, I don't know, maybe a little stronger, getting some technology or something from Russia, but Syria has fallen. Venezuela has been, you know, what's happened there. So I'm just saying, like, as far as countries that had been within the Russian sphere of influence, they've basically all been defanged or damaged militarily. So Russia is really, they still have nuclear weapons, but I'm not sure what kind of a global position they're going to be in once all this is over. Some people have said that they may just be effectively a vassal state of China at this point, which is not where Russia would have wanted to be 10 years ago. So,
right. Yeah, that's a great point. Any thoughts about
yeah.
Ukraine specifically?
I think it's another great weakness of Biden that he didn't, uh, you know, push that a little harder and say, look, we're not trying to fight to a draw here or to a negotiated settlement. We're going to win. And if that means we have to arm these people and have them march on Moscow, then that's what it'll be, effectively. Like, I mean, this whole thing should have been when he realized that by the time Putin knew that Trump was coming back, it was too late, right? Because he can always just keep fighting and just wait until it's over. And then Trump's going to come back and he's going to get to toy with Trump some more. But Biden had, I don't know, 2 years effectively to have brought that to a conclusion. I know he's scared of a nuclear war or something, but hey, if Russia wants to start a nuclear war, that's on Russia, and we can, you know, it's a cliche to say nobody wins a nuclear war, but there are good reasons to believe that Russia would not want a nuclear war more than we would, or if I'm saying that right, yeah.
Sure.
So I mean, it would be as damaging, if not more damaging, for them, and they're already losing the war conventionally, and their economy was already shot to hell. So, and they would be roundly condemned globally, even by their allies like, Russia or China, rather, if they had initiated a nuclear exchange. So, I think again, Biden's weakness and just allowed a situation to continue that should have been nipped in the bud.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna have a lot of those situations. I feel like where we're gonna look back and say that. I think.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we got about 10 minutes left before I got to get to my next meeting. So I was gonna ask you. I haven't asked you the last few times. What music have you been listening to lately, Chuck?
Oh, well, I was at the gym recently and I ended up going through uh, DMX's first album again. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And I
Nice.
mean, the album is incredible. It's just banger after banger. And one that particularly stood out was Get At Me Dog. That was just once you hear that one, it kind of gets stuck in your head and everything. And I mean, the man was a storyteller. He was, just like his intonation, his vocal intonations, his doing different voices in the same conversation and stuff. Just you forget what a good rapper DMX was, really. I mean, just,
Yeah.
extremely violent, extremely dark, extremely, just depraved and everything, but very I don't know, there was something to it that it's very hard to find in other rappers, I think. So yeah, I went through the first two DMX albums again, which I think was his heyday.
Sure. Did you
So
listen to his last one before he died?
what was that one called? I'm the album or a song?
The album. It came out just like right before he passed away.
I don't know. It's been 5 or so years. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't.
I probably did hear it, but again, it's just I don't know. I think for me, the DMX was always pretty good, but the early DMX was just, that was the best, I think, for what it was. So, and
Called
yeah,
Exodus. It was called Exodus, 2021.
okay, huh? Yeah, no, I probably heard some of that when it came out, but I don't remember. Again, I'm in a different place in my life, I guess. I'm not, I'm not. We don't own the CD anymore, so it's not like you just have it in your CD player in your car while you're driving around Lawrence
although,
County or
although,
something.
although I am trying to get back to physical media, so who knows? Maybe I'll have a CD player again.
Yeah. Oh, what was I thinking of? There's a guy who did a comedy song like a year or so ago. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He did. Hold on, let me turn down the volume. Okay, well, yeah. Kyle Gordon, do you know this guy? He's kind of a comedian, I guess.
No, I don't think so. What was the song?
Well, I'm trying to. I can't remember what his first song was, but his second song was called "Crawl to Me" by Kyle Gordon, featuring Stool Sample, which is kind of a comedic parody of new metal rap, right? Like that kind of thing. And it's hilarious. It's very funny.
I do know who this person is because my coworker sent this to me a while back. It was the song "We Will Never Die," which was I think parody of the Mumford and Sons slash Lumineers Stone Clap Hey type music.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, that one I'm not familiar with, but the
I'll
other
send that
one,
one
the
to
one
you.
that I first heard by him was Planet of the Bass. That was the one that I first heard by featuring DJ Crazy Times and Miss Biljana Electronica. I think were the names he made up for that one, but that was kind of a parody of the early 90s kind of Europop rap, kind of like I don't know what to describe it as even, but it was very funny.
Oh, okay. Yes, I did. I did hear that, but I didn't realize that was him. Though. That's funny. Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah. Well, after this, yeah, you got to listen to "Crawl to Me." It's a ridiculous song. It's very much like kind of corn slash Limp Biscuit coated and stuff. It's very funny. And I don't know. I'm trying to think what was the other. I've also heard some other. There was also like there's a cover band. There's like a very gay cover band that does covers of Limp Bizkit or something. And they, oh God, I'm trying to remember which song they did a cover of. I don't think I could even probably say the title. It was very explicit, but it's just very funny to hear this explicit gay lyrics being done in a Limp Bizkit song. So it was very funny.
You'll have to send that one to me. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me check my Shazam because I'm trying to remember what else I've heard recently. I think I heard "Shotgun" by Junior Walker and the All Stars, probably from the 50s or 60s, I guess. That was a classic.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Various K-pop things. Big Bang's song called "Cafe," which was probably 10 years old now, but it's a very kind of a very atmospheric kind of romantic heartbreak song or something. That was a good one. Yeah. Anyways, these are some of the things. Again, I don't listen to a lot of music unless I'm at the gym. When I'm at the gym, I'm either listening to a podcast, usually on YouTube, or listening to music, usually rap or pop or something, K-pop sometimes.
We watched.
Yeah.
Speaking of K-pop, we watched the K-pop Demon Hunters. I told you about it, and I think Captain was the only one that liked it.
Yeah.
It had a very frenetic energy that I think he connected with, but I was a little bit like, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah, there's a thing where I almost matched or I almost had a match with one of the women who was acting in that movie
You told me
on
that. That's
Twitter.
wild.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that was several years ago, I think. So
You could have
that's
almost been Mr. K-pop Demon Hunter.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was almost my 15 minutes of fame. Yeah.
HI, that's what you got to do to get us to the next level. You got to make these connections happen in the dating scene. And
Try to date a celebrity.
exactly, and then people will, then they'll know to listen.
Yeah.
So and so's
Well,
boyfriend makes wild statement on American podcast.
yeah. Korean American star fired for her boyfriend's political commentary. Yeah,
But
yeah.
well, hey, I got to jump off because I got my next meeting in 2 minutes. But I'll next time you want to record, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah. We should probably try to do it more regularly. We've covered one thing, but there's 50 gazillion news stories that have happened between these episodes. So it's just like,
wild.
yeah,
But
drinking from the hose.
yeah,
All right. Well, yeah. Have a good day there, Bob. Thanks for
have a good
calling.
night. Thanks a lot.